connecting the hubs and the corridors provide habitat for wildlife. And when we talk about wildlife, we need our natural plants in that for that wildlife. I know you are already schooled this group. I'm preaching to the choir, if you will. You already know that if you do not provide, if you change all the soil and you change all of the plants, now you've changed the biome, you've changed the bugs, now you're going to change the birds and then fall out from there. So it's very important that we start respecting what's there and try to put it back. Um, I'm going off my slides. I don't have any cards, so I'm going to just keep talking. A little more about this. Hubs are considered parks, conservation areas. They can actually be golf courses. I've seen beautiful golf courses planted on the sides and in the buffer areas that can be considered natural resources. Our undeveloped lands, these are ag lands. I think the state just experienced a really good um, capture, if you will, of all of these ranches and agricultural lands into conservation easements, connected conservation easements. I think it was southwest Florida. You know, Babcock Ranch, that's a great example of that type of entity where they've set aside their land as conservation easements. It's active ranch, but they can have the best existing wildlife out in these ranches. Corridors, of course, as I said in the film, you may not have heard that when I was with the Nature Conservancy, we really struggled with what does a corridor consist of? Does it have to be 100 feet for a mountain lion? Or can it just be 5 feet for the little frogs? I mean, what does it look like? What's the standard for a corridor? The answer is it depends. It depends on what species you're talking about and what species you're actively trying to protect or what's available. What do you got, folks? I got 5 feet over here. I'm going to use this now, right? So I look at everything that could possibly be a corridor. When I look, oh, there's a blank screen. I don't know what. I did green infrastructure planning in the city of Sebastian. We have a whole green infrastructure map. It's online. And then I also did it in Oakland County, Michigan, when I was with the Michigan Nature Conservancy. And, they actively work to connect their big parks, their metro parks. They actively try to connect them with existing easements or existing conservation lands or just and there's the state of Florida also has one actively going, like their riverside, their river courses is a great. So what is low impact development? Again, these are small incremental treatments of the runoff that we already know comes from our houses, from the roads, and it creates a treatment train, hopefully, if you can get it long enough, so that it reduces the amount of sediments or pesticides that go then flush out to our waterway. Palm Bay has a low impact development guide manual. We try very, very hard to encourage our developers to utilize them. And how do we do that? We do that by incentivizing what they're proposing. Hey, if you do this, we'll reduce how many parking spaces you need to put in. Or if you do this, you put in like native buffer, I'm going to count that as part of your open space. And if you put a little trail by it, now you've got recreation on top of that. Wow, look at us. We're giving you a really good community development. The Marine Resources Council has always been a proponent of low impact development. Their page has a great deal of information for to explain further LIDs. I think they actually have some of my stuff on their page, at least they used to. They have a low impact development conference every October. I'm on the steering committee this year. I believe they changed the dates on it. I want to say it's the last week of October, 2 days. I think it's Wednesday and Thursday. I'd have to look up the dates, but of course it's online. It's a great conference, very, very informative. So why are we doing this? Well, we need to reduce the stormwater volume, the intensity as it comes through our systems. and the pollutant load. And a lot of the ways to do that is through vegetation. It's easy, it's cheap, it's sustainable, right? When you put large corridors or canals through that have just concrete sides, that is just taking everything at a very high volume and flushing it right out to our waterways. That is not sustainable. So how do we implement them? Well, there's many, many different CIs and LIDs. Am I in a good spot for everybody? Is everybody hearing me? I'm not blocking your view? Okay, good. Because I keep turning around. The urban tree canopy, of course, that's a no-brainer. We want to try to protect our trees and our tree infrastructure. What are the problems? What are some of the issues with people wanting to keep the trees for their development or even in our public areas? Oh, they're pulling up the sidewalk. They're especially oaks. I mean, oaks are the godfather of all, the most important beneficial tree in my opinion. But anyways, there's a lot of issues with trying to keep a tree canopy. When I was in Sebastian, our mandate for the park, I don't know if you've ever been at Riverview Park and down in Sebastian, those beautiful oaks, we started prohibiting anybody driving through there. We have a lot of events in that park, and they have to use hand carts. They cannot drive in the park. There was a big pushback, and I said, sorry, we're done, because I was told by the council not to let you do this, so we're not doing this anymore. And we started protecting our trees. It has really helped out the tree canopy, which, is not going to rejuvenate. That canopy probably will not come back. So we have to protect what we have. So anyways, urban trees, very important. Native vegetation. In my youth, I did a lot of wetland mitigation. In fact, my thesis was on that. And learning how and what takes along canalways and what really protects a wetland boundary becomes very, very important. Best thing to do is put in cordgrass, because that'll keep everything else out, and then you can plant from there. Anyways, excuse me, cordgrass, Spartina baccharii, or Spartina patens. You probably know all the. They're a wetland. It's a clump grass. So any kind of clump grass, I'll give you a quick tip. If you want to keep sod grass from getting into a landscaped area that you're trying to keep native, especially wetlands, plant big clump grass. It will prevent it from sliding in and going between it. I was very successful in so many situations in being able to do that. And then from the clump grass, you can plant down all of your other species. But when you're working in public sector, it's important to have these little tips, because then you tell the maintenance people, don't mow, don't spray, don't do anything past this big line of clump grass. You hear me? So it makes it easier. Baffle boxes, did I skip one? Am I there? Okay, baffle boxes. In Sebastian alone, in fact, there's 9 baffle boxes. And I'm not going to talk about funding, because I don't know where funding is these days. I don't think anybody does. Where grant funding will be for sustainability, probably zero. So, but in Sebastian, they put in these baffle boxes at the ends of their main street years ago. Those are great LIDs. Those are great green infrastructure systems, because in a baffle box, you put it at the end of a big storm water pipe, and all of the detritus that comes down that pipe, I see a lot of head shaking, drops into this box. It is captured there. We clean it out. You can even have the oil, I forget what they're called. I think she has it in here, the flock block. You can put it in there. It actually collects all the oil and different things from it. That also gets changed out before it goes out to the Indian River Lagoon. That's the lagoon right there. So they are great. I know that NEP and, of course, Brevard County, Texas, have put in a lot of baffle boxes, which are a great, great system. So this is what we mean by treatment trains. You have your storage and infiltration, right? From your native landscaping, then you go into some type of treatment. It can be an open vegetated swale, right? And then going down before the river, you can have your baffle boxes or even another way for it to the water to soak into the ground and then get filtered naturally by the soil. Rain gardens, bioswales, that's the concept for your treatment train. I know a lot of you are probably very familiar with these. Um, the side of parking lots, like Walmart started doing this years ago. I know Sebastian Walmart had one where they, instead of their landscape island being raised, they actually recessed it and planted it, and the stormwater, they used it as part of their stormwater system instead of just big grates dropping from the parking lot and then going out to whatever outfall is there, right? So it's a great, bioswales are really a great opportunity. We try to encourage that with our developers again. You know, it's encouragement, it's incentivizing, it's not always successful. Disconnect the downspouts, something you can do in your own home. You know, everybody thinks that the impervious area is the sidewalk, is the driveway, is the road. It's your roof too. And it washes down and it goes down the downspout and it goes right out into the road and right out into the river. So you got to take that in consideration. And what we're encouraging is that you disconnect that downspout and you have it disconnect as in disconnect it from the impervious surface and reroute it into a landscape area. Um, it also, and I want to tell you that it also helps during hurricanes and heavy storms because we do that at my house. And it keeps the water away from the house and into the yard instead. Under drains, roadside, I'll keep moving, there's a lot. Green roofs, I know that everybody is familiar with that terminology. I was fortunate when I worked with Kimley Horn and Associates down in Vero Beach, they built a green building and they had a green roof on top. It was really neat. I don't know if it was successful. I have no idea if it's still growing, but it was really neat and it's a neat concept. Green walls, they also had a green wall, which was beautiful. Permeable pavers, they're frowned upon sometimes because of the maintenance, and it has to be set up correctly and done right first. Otherwise, they will get all gumped up, and then it's not. Interesting fact, though, we treat our stormwater in a big development. How are we treating our stormwater? Anybody? Big, huge stormwater ponds, right? We dig them out. They need to fill, so they love digging them out, and then they plant them with sod. And I'm telling you, within 5 years, studies have shown they no longer filter nor are as permeable as they were set up to be because of grass and sod, but also, you know, the soil becomes impactful. So are permeable pavers better? I think so, because at least it's not concrete, right? You've got grass and you just mow it and it should go through. Or you don't have grass, you just have gravel, which I prefer. And, you know, that should continue to go through if set up correctly. Now, technology has gotten so much better. There's several companies out there, Ferguson, Argo, they are doing these and really using really advanced technology to make these things happen. Cisterns, this is another way to collect your water. I don't know how many of you have gone to some of the Caribbean islands. Yes, yes. Saba, the friend who lived on Saba for many, many years, and that's how they got their water, was through cisterns and guppies. Rain barrels are great. I have this in my house in Michigan. It goes into a rain barrel, and I can water my property without, you know, infringing upon my well. Curb cuts, I'm a huge proponent of this. I'd love to see more of this in some of our developments. It's a great redevelopment tool also, where you cut the curb. It's as simple as that. And then it runs into a grass swale for treatment instead of, once again, going directly into a drain and it outfalls straight out to the lagoon. Buffer zones, we kind of talked about those. We have landscaping, you know, corridors. You see a lot of the larger cities where they have the parkway and the corridors between, the developed areas. This is a great opportunity to plant edibles. I would like. Back in Detroit, where I'm from, they have like the largest um, garden. What is it called? I'm losing my words. For to eat, edible garden, or it's a community garden. Thank you. A community garden, and they have, really go to Detroit. It is not the Detroit of my youth. It is it's beautiful, and they've come a long way with these things. Tree wells, they're fabulous. I know you've seen tree wells, and that's where the runoff comes in. It actually waters the tree, and then the tree well in there actually helps the water then percolate into our groundwater and get cleansed prior to it again going out to the nearest outfall. Vegetated swales, we talked about those. I'm going to just point out to you though that, let me go this, an obstacle. It's going to be important when we get at the end. So obstacles, why can't we just have all this vegetation growing in the middle of these swales? And, why do we have to, spray them so that there's no vegetation in our bottom of our swales? Well, these swales were built to not only collect or cleanse water, that I think was the perk that somebody thought of at the end. They're there to transport and to store water. So if you have a bunch of vegetation in the way, it's not going to go. It's going to back up into your yard or your neighbor's yard and street. So they have to be cleaned out. It is just the reality of these systems. And you who live in Palm Bay, we were left with the blessing of DVC and all of their endless canals. And, love them or leave them, that's what they are. But I also see them as corridors. You need to start looking at them as corridors. Keep talking to them about only mow one end and the other side we can plant back and native. That's what I'm hoping for. Obstacles, common misconceptions. When we present to our developers, hey, if you do this LID, you're going to save over here, or we'll give you waivers here, we'll give you, a release in here. They just constantly think it's too expensive. There are so many studies out there showing that if you actually incorporate LIDs into your development, you're going to save between 5 to 80% of the cost that you would generally spend on your stormwater master plan system. Ma'am. Yes. So I think I apologize. Two different things. Two different things. So the question was, she was asking, well, if you put in a rain garden, that's not going to back up your neighbors. So why can't you clean it out? And I'm sorry, but I was showing a vegetated swale in a public road or a public area, right away area. And I apologize. Thank you for that clarification. Because, of course, if you put a rain garden in your own yard, no one's going to come and tell you you have to mow it. But if it's in a right of way that is moving water, designed to move water or store water, we can't have it mucked up with cattails, which will prevent it. But that doesn't mean you have to plant sod and grass. We're going to get to that problem in a minute too, because a lot of the common misconceptions, difficult maintenance, requires a larger space. Traditional stormwater management. A lot of development. I just can't even believe some of our engineers what am I trying? They don't have no design in them at all. Think outside the box, right? And it could work and make a better development. Oh well. Common obstacles are local codes that don't support GMP. Most of our local codes say, and when you're done digging that big, huge stormwater pond or building that big berm, make sure you sod it. Exactly. And why? Why do we have to have grass everywhere? There's wonderful native ground covers that would also be manageable and maintainable, and you could even mow them. You can mow clover, you can mow. Can you mow frog fruit? Oh, there we. Are you with the native plant? Are you? No, you look familiar. You sell plants or native plants? Yeah. What's the name of your company? You look very familiar. You look like the man that used to come to our Sebastian Earth Day. I'm sorry. Now I think I know everybody. See where you started? Now I know everybody. Anyways, the local codes. And so we have worked very, very hard. I have in the areas that I've been in to change our local codes to benefit and promote um, LIDs and JCI. So barrier busters. This is what this is. You change your comp plan so that you actually add statements like um, policy blah 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 will support the incorporation of green infrastructure and low impact design in our development. So you put that kind of verbiage in, and now you have that backing, right? Because one thing that comes with a municipality or any kind of local government, you have your master plan, which is your comp plan. Everybody has one. And then those are your overriding policies and goals, what we want for our city, woo woo. And then it drills down into the regulations. That's your land development code. But you have to have that comp plan first. Yes, ma'am. What is a BSE? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Best management practices. Sorry, that slipped in there, didn't it? Best management practices. That's, again, what's the best management practice for this particular site? Is it LIDs, the green infrastructure? Is it just pave the whole darn thing and move away? That's not a good. But anyway, so the barrier busters are requiring vegetated littoral zones. We actually have that in our stormwater master plan. I don't think anybody has been applying it until I came on board, and my other environmental planner, Tim Hagler, who said, Lisa, do you know it says that in our stormwater management manual? Well, okay, it does now. So we're very excited about that, requiring the preservation of 25% of each native vegetation community identified on the site. We put that in the code in Sebastian, not being successful here in Palm Bay. But we have open spaces that are required in Palm Bay. In all of our developments, commercial, you have to leave at least 10% open space, meaning it has to be native and it has to be, connected on your parcel. In PUDs, it's 25%. Yes, ma'am. She asked, does it apply to a single property owner? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Because generally, a single family home is an infill, right? You're not talking about in a PUD, right? Like in a big plan development. No, you're talking about individual family homes. Yeah. No, so don't get confused by that. So when you have PUD is a planned unit development, that is a master plan development that includes thousands of homes, right? Thousands of home lots. The whole master plan community needs to set aside 25% open space and recreation. It doesn't apply to each individual lot. Okay, then you're getting sticky areas of property rights. So, but when you're designing and developing a large plan development, then you can state you need to set aside 25% open space, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to keep the existing native areas intact. I'm working on that. Are we good? Okay. So anyways, those are some of the barrier busters, city policies, incentivizing. In Palm Bay, our council was very adamant that we provide incentives so that the developers would actually consider LIDs. Um, it's a whole educational process. When I meet with them and they say, I can't possibly put 20% non-residential and 25% open space on this property. And it's like, well, they're not mutually exclusive, so you're not putting away 50% of your property here. But you have to put in, a 50-foot buffer back here before the next property. Plant it all in native. Put in a vegetated swale. Now you've got, and then put a pathway through it. What are you thinking here? Now you've got your open space. You've got an LID with a vegetated swale. So it's actually working to slow down the water, to treat the water, all before it goes into a pipe and goes out to the lagoon. So it's an educational process. Some of them are getting it. Our engineers just aren't creative. And I see a lot of this in some here, incentives in Palm Bay. In Sebastian, we have a stormwater fee. Palm Bay also has a stormwater. Sebastian, we choose, you get a credit on your stormwater fee if you utilize LID. Um, some people take advantage of it. It's hard. People don't read, so you don't know what to do. Incentives in Palm Bay, parking credits. We don't need as much parking as we get anyway. So we do parking credits. If you add LIDs, landscape credits, open space credits, density heights, I don't like to give those, but it is an incentive. It's the language they speak. Recreation credits, setback reduction. I apologize. But in the Indian River Lagoon, they have identified different best management practices that each locale needs to put into place by incremental changes in order to meet the BMAP that help the Indian River Lagoon get restored. So that's also an incentive for county or local government to enact, because I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways, benefits, direct benefits, again, case studies show 15 to 80% reduction of cost, a reducing stormwater infrastructure, supports climate resiliency, and it provides sustained natural habitat for wildlife. It also helps our groundwater recharge. So this is the game. It's not a game. But when I did this in Sebastian, we actually had breakout groups, right? And we had 3 different scenarios, and we went through them. So tell us, and all you do is shout it out. Just shout it out. Yes, ma'am, of course. Not me. I have put in Palm Bay. I, well, we're talking about other places. I haven't. Okay, well, only whole concentration since I've been there is to stabilize my department, which is unstable for the last 5 years. I have great people there. We've stabilized it. We're getting our processes in right. But the other big concentration was getting our land development code, and we are still doing little up. So as far as getting out in the field and doing some of these things, I have not had that opportunity. What works really is great. Why are we so behind? What are we doing here? Because development came on quick. It came on quick, and we also know that Palm Bay had its own issues with the government. It stabilized itself, but then development was behind it. This is your last road, if you will, in Vermont. And And there was a lot of checks and balances and things that were put in place, but it took time to get there. And now I'm a year and a half in, and I'm seeing the changes, and I'm sorry, and I'm physically. So here we all building, so with your being on board, and people feel like the as well as I can assure you that we are on board with that in the city of Palm Bay. I'm sorry. I'll repeat. Okay. Écoutez, répétez. So I will try. She's talking about the compound. She's talking about Palm Bay. Again, rapid development, and everybody who lives anywhere else but Palm Bay and in Palm Bay has seen it. And it's worrisome because you are right on the edge of the St. Johns River, right? And that's our water source. And so, what are we doing to protect that? That's a big question. It's a big question that I can't answer, but I can tell you that since I've been in Palm Bay, big worry for me too, that we are trying to do the things that we can do. We updated our comp plan before I got there, and now we're updating our land development code, trying to incentivize these developers. And I can't even tell you how much pushback I get and my team gets, but management is supportive of our saying, no, this is the law, this is what Palm Bay wants. And the council thus far has been very supportive too. So I'm very grateful for that. I think you were next. Do you want me to just summarize for you? Yeah. Are you talking about that Fort Malabar Road in that one? I go by it every single day. You have to remember, please try to remember this, that we are dealing with now legacy projects, okay? What I mean by that is that each piece of property will be entitled. They'll get all their entitlements. So now this is your land use, this is your zoning, here's your site plan, and then it'll take them a good 2, 3 years to break ground, right? So we call them legacy projects. My poor staff, we have to handle it all the time. I don't know who approved these things, is what we say. How come they did this? We say, I don't know. Say, but now we're stuck with it and we got to move forward with it. And I drive by there every day, and US 1 and Port Malabar, those big, huge, huge things, yes. Um, and they were parking under the trees, and they were supposed to have tree barriers. And so I railed and railed until our inspectors went out there. and railed at them because you can't park under trees that you are protecting. They will die. So I don't know if I was able to go further down the big sand hill one. Yeah, they had no barriers up. They were discharging and running into the road. I had to complain on them too. The problem is we're only humans. Palm Bay is huge. We have so many inspectors, not enough. We know we don't have enough, but we can only do what we can do. And so, Diane, yes, ma'am. None of this, right. So, uh, that is not for me to make that decision. Good question. But it doesn't matter. I don't live in Palm Bay. I live in, oh, you look very familiar too. See, I know everybody. Anyways, I don't know anybody. I live in Indy Atlantic, but I know this is our water resource out here. And it has to be protected. So I know that. But, again, sorry, who you vote in, it's where they put the money, it's what their priorities are. And, we also have to be very careful of personal property rights. So, anybody else? Did I miss somebody? It seemed like there was a bunch of hands. I'm sorry, sir. I'll get right back to you. Oh my gosh, Brevard County, you have Virginia Baker. She's like uh, Barker. I'm sorry. She's the awesome star. She is awesomeness. I just respect her incredibly. The work she's been able to do and putting in the whole with the tax dollars. What is it? It's not IRL. No, no. Your growth management director is, um, I know her. Her son, my son went to school with her daughter. Dittmer. I don't know how much activity they do in this realm. I don't know. I have no idea. But I know the Brevard County does a lot of it. They were at the same conference I was at and gave the same talk. So they're speaking the language. The Natural Resource Department of Brevard County does not deal directly with developers. It would be the planning and zoning. Diane, did you have a question? Well, I'm going to presume that all the water is being collected into a stormwater management system, of course. And going the other way, they're going west with it. Well, they would have had to. Again, it's a legacy project, but they still have to go through St. John's. I mean, you still have St. John's River Water Management District as our permitting, state permitting. They were awesome when I was younger. They have been cut, 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 cut. I'll go check into it though. They have many. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's made me dislike this development even more. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. So the question is, sewer to septic. I keep missing you. I am so sorry. He is next. Nobody raised their hand. He is next. Um, Septic to sewer, another one of my wonderful, wonderful things that I can talk about for hours. Um, Septic to sewer is not an easy subject. Tell me when I'm running out of time. So septic to sewer, I did a huge project when I was in Merritt Island. Funding was plentiful back then, and we had the CRA dollars. Brevard County was doing a big sewer pipe, and this was an old industrial park right adjacent to the Banana River, just next to the airport on Merritt Island. I don't know if you remember that, know where that is. Okay, we didn't even have records of where the septic tanks were for most of these properties. That's how old it was. So we got federal grants, we got state grants, we had Brevard County, and we had CRA dollars, and we had the, somebody help me, why has it gone to my brain? Brevard County's tax money. It has a name. I saw. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We need their dollars, and I left it before it was completed. But if you go into DEP's website, it's all in there. We replaced all of the septic tanks in that area. It's not cheap. It doesn't happen quick. And so if you go to Palm Bay now, because this is happening in Sebastian too, Sebastian's a GDC community just like Palm Bay. You have old developments on septic, and septic itself is not that bad if it's above the water table and make sure you flush it out and clean it out. It in itself isn't bad. If it can travel through the gravel or the dirt long enough, phosphorus is gone easy. It's the nitrogen that remains, but if it goes far enough, it should be able to be absorbed or adsorb the soil, right? So septic systems in themselves are not bad. They're making them better these days. How long will it take Palm Bay to do the sewer? I have no idea. A lot of these big, huge developments that everybody's afraid of that's coming out at Mickle Road and west or east of Babcock, all those big developments, they're not going to go in for another 3 to 4 years at best because the sewer will not be there, and they cannot develop without the sewer. So that's what's preventing them. And in order to go infiltrate into the existing neighborhoods and bring that in, again, very, very costly. Why is it not so costly for the big developer to get the sewer first? Because they pay for it. They pay for it. Why is it more costly to go into the existing neighborhoods and lay down pipe and rip up your front yard and rip up all the roads and take out your septic? Very costly. And who's paying for it? So it's hard to say, yes, you're coming in next year because it's there's no money. There's no money. So I'm sorry, this gentleman's next. Come on, please play the rules, sir. Oh, thanks. Yes and no. Those are, yes, lofty thoughts. And, when I was a young gal starting on that path, I was very, very hopeful. And I'm not dashing your dreams. It was only by this continuing to knock on the doors and say, no, we've got to do better and we've got to be held, people need to be held accountable. But it's, people own land and you can't stop people from owning land and you can't stop people from wanting to do with their property, that's personal property rights, and that is part of our Constitution, part of our Bill of Rights. We don't want that destroyed, do we? So you have the right to use your property to the best and highest use, right? However, enabling laws, which is your planning laws, stop you from or prevent you from using your property where it will be detrimental to your neighbors, right? And so those are the laws that are in play. That's why you can't build an industrial factory next to a residential, property. There's step down of intensities and densities. So we do that, but when it's large pieces of property, land, like the St. Sebastian State Park, they've got to be set aside in perpetuity, and not everybody wants to do that. And so that's why, again, when I rewrote the comp plan and the laws in Sebastian, I was there a lot longer, so I was able to, and it's a smaller city, and development isn't rushing through the door every minute. We were able to, again, say you need to connect. If you have scrubland, you've got good scrubland habitat, you need to set aside 20% of it on your property, and we'll give you open space credit for it, or we'll give you whatever credit, or we'll let you, do a cluster development over here. Here, we don't have that going on, and I'm working on it. In year 6. But the way you do that is by informing your elected officials. I've been an elected official. What the heck am I talking about? So I'm on the Sebastian Inlet District. I'm a commissioner with Sebastian Inlet District. But I know, sitting on councils and on planning boards, they want to hear from the community. And I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with Palm Bay. There's a lot of people who show up all the time. They're very engaged. I feel like they really, really, really care about that community and they want the best for it. And I think their voices are being heard by the council and changing the land development code again to even make it more stricter. We'll see if it passes. But are we done? It's 7:05. What? No, I love it. Well, again, I think it's what like Sue was talking about, getting involved in your sustainability board. That's always a great thing. Getting involved in environmental organizations like the Marine Resources Council. It, you all know what Diane did, right? By making the Indian River Lagoon be recognized. So it's a national estuary. Before that, everybody thought it was the river. It's just the river. But because of her passion and a lot of other people getting together and knocking on doors and telling their legislators, and look what happened. And look, now the barrier island has been set aside. And that was very important. Like him or love him or leave him, Posey. He did put that in before he left office to set aside the barrier island, the South Beach barrier island. Very important because they can't ever increase the density down there. So you can't ever have big high rises and, 40-foot lots. It's very popular in Palm Bay, which I'm fighting against right now. Too much. So be involved, get educated, know what you're reading, know what you're voting for, get on your different boards and committees. I mean, really, that's the best thing you can do in your own HOA. If you live in an HOA, that's a great place to get involved because then you can say, hey, we need to protect trees more, or, hey, let's encourage. This was part of the game, and I'll just go through it real quick. So you're supposed to, oops, it's not working anymore. That's a downtown core. But when you look at a single family residential site, I mean, look at this. That, you know, it's 30% impervious, right? Because there's your house, there's a shed, here's a pool, here's a driveway. But then look at the rest of it. It's just a bunch of lawn. Ugh. So what can you do? Well, you know, you can have a rain barrel to collect your water, and then you know how much you will save and do not use potable water for irrigation. How much you will save by collecting that water and using it for irrigation. And then, of course, a rain garden layout, disconnecting the pipe. That was a funky thing, but but anyways, it goes on, and that's the benefits of it. So now you have, you know, your big grass area. Now you have actually nice landscaping, and then it connects everything together. Now you have a butterfly garden. So you can do that individually in your own home. But again, being involved in these organizations and this passionate group here, if you keep going to city council meetings and, you know, making noise in a nice way, of course, Sue is always, but she's at every council meeting. And then she actually corralled me to have a private meeting with her and her buddies, and then got me here. Holy cow! But that's where you can use your passion to really start pushing the envelope. And I think that's good to know. Yes. Thank you all so very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you. I turned it off. I'm sorry. I should have put it on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm a mentor to my younger staff. Well, they're not even that much younger than me, but they get charged up with this too. And I wanted Kim to be here tonight, but she lives down in Indian River, so I need water. Ugh. Yes. Oh, thank you. Okay, next up is Mr. Richard Blackford. Yeah. Oh, you want me to bring it up? Sure. He's going to present to you the slate for the election. And we're going to vote tonight. Please. I knew you were going to put it that way. Uh, uh, woohoo! Where's Mary? Oh, she's it. Mary Murphy, our co-treasurer. Thank you. She's standing up somewhere. Good. And yes, sir. Oh, okay. So now we have to vote. All I need is you to put up your hand, say yes, and we accept the slate. And if that's it, then we're good to go. So are we gonna say yes to the slate for the new board to come in? Okay. I've already counted you, so I know I have enough. Thank you. Um, next up is Beth Blackford, and she's going to introduce her restless natives. How they came up with that, I don't know. I'm not going to ask them. Thanks, Paul. Okay, guess what? It is now ticket time. Are you ready? And you get to pick yours first. Your plant. No, you don't have to have a ticket. You're the presenter, so we always give a plant. You follow Richard. I'm sorry. Follow Richard out the door. He's going to the plant.